already Iran is screwing up big time, not just with its own citizens, but with the international community. So just to have a quick recap, a few days ago, Iran decided to launch at least 15 missiles at two U.S. bases in Iraq. This was meant to be a sort of symbolic gesture of revenge against the United States over the killing of General Qasem Soleimani, who, as I mentioned before in one of my earlier videos, was a leader of the Quds Force, was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans, especially during the Iraq War, and has committed many other activities across the Middle East, such as terrorist attacks and other operations, as a result to spread Iran's influence. Now, during that time, when they were launching 15 missiles, they supposedly mistaken one of the airliners that was taking off to be a cruise missile. As a result, they decided to launch one of their missiles, destroying the Ukrainian 737 as a result, killing 176 people, mostly Iranians and some Ukrainians. And the reason why I say suppose is because there is this conspiracy theory of Iran intentionally trying to destroy this airliner, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. I honestly don't believe it at this point, unless if in the future we get some kind of evidence that actually suggests that this may be actually possible. But continuing on, Iran, after realizing their major mistake, tried to bulldoze the area, trying to get rid of any witnesses, any evidence that such a thing happened. Problem was, we have satellites, and there were still some eyewitnesses to what occurred. So, yeah, it did not work out well as Iran planned. So, after the news broke about a day or two, Iran was forced to accept that they had accidentally shot down a Ukrainian 737 airliner, a civilian jet. Did not turn out very good. In fact, they're just finally admitting to something which by the way is kind of a surprise to me, especially since they're a theocracy and they're anti-American and probably want to try to blame everything on the United States. It's kind of surprising to me that Iran is taking responsibility for this, but it's causing major problems for them. Iran has already, just in Tehran, there's been thousands of people that have been protesting on the streets. When Iran finally acknowledged that they accidentally shot down this jet, thousands have decided to protest as a result. Many people saying death to the dictator, Soleimani was a murderer, which considering the last few years of constant protests against the Iranian regime, it doesn't really surprise me that the Iranian people have definitely major issues with their own government. And of course, they also called upon their own Ayatollah, the supreme religious leader, to resign. Already, they're facing dysfunction within their own country because their own civilians are their own civilians. Even if they were previously anti-government, they are now just shocked about how badly their own government screwed up. Shooting down a civilian aircraft with Iranians on it. Already, that's causing major repercussions. And I honestly think that these protests are just going to be continuing for so long. And the response from not only the United States, but from the international community also proves it. Because the United States, which I got from the tweets, not just from Donald Trump and Mike Pence, but also from Mike Pompeo, who is the Secretary of State, actually said that they stand with the protesters who are tired of the corruption, they're tired of the oppression that they have been dealing with, and they stand by it. But of course, the international community definitely took things uh a little bit further in my personal opinion. In the case for Britain, their own ambassador, which by the way I will get into that part in a minute, specifically said that Iran is causing this tension to occur and calls upon the Iranian government to de-escalate, finally placing the blame on Iran. Now, I know that Britain already stands with the U.S., especially in the case of the Soleimani strike, but still, already we're seeing this this major shift in the international community against Iran. Even Ukraine, even Ukraine is is definitely having major issues with how this came about, especially since not only their own civilians were killed, one of their airliners was destroyed, and as a result, the Ukrainian government has demanded compensation for what has occurred. And in all honesty, they're definitely it's a legitimate thing to demand, especially since Ukraine and Iran, for the most part, have not really had any issues with each other. Of course, now with the recent strike, that is going to be a major change. But you can even now with how the protests are popping up everywhere, and with the international community in the U.S. Denouncing Iran for their actions, already we're seeing a response from Iran, and this seems to be more out of desperation as a result with the instability within their own country with the protests, like I said before, and just their overall isolation. Already, the British ambassador of Iran was arrested for filming the anti-government protests. Now, he was locked up for a day, and now he's released. But nonetheless, that is a major blight between Great Britain and Iran, because there's this international rule about diplomatic immunity, and already with the fact that the British ambassador himself was arrested for just filming the anti-government protesters, it's not going to cause relationships between Britain and Iran to improve anytime soon. And it's already being already showed to the international community that Iran is just trying to cover its own ass, as if that wasn't the case before, or well, as if they did know that before. But nonetheless, it's just how far the Iranian government was willing to go already shows their major desperation as a result of this crisis, or well, this event. But the Iranian government is not really standing down, not by a long shot. In fact, the Ayatollah said that the missile strike which occurred against 2 U.S. bases was not enough. That only shows to me that the Ayatollah kind of plans on doing a little bit more than he originally intended to, especially with launching missiles into Iraq. Which, by the way, Iraq is definitely not liking how Iran is acting as a result. I know that the Iraqi Prime Minister is definitely a supporter of Iran, but I would argue that the population of Iraq itself is not really into being a puppet for Iran. But already, regardless, I'm getting off topic. The fact that the Ayatollah said that the missile strike wasn't enough seems to indicate that Iran is planning something new. Maybe a terrorist attack, or activation of sleeper cells using Shia militias. I don't know what it is. But to further prove that, General Abdullah Rouhani, who, by the way, is the leader of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, has threatened harsher revenge against the United States very soon. His own words. Already, this is an indication of Iran's Iran's desperation. Already, I mean, let's take a recount here with how the past few weeks have been going with Iran. They have already, their Shia militias were targeted by the United States, especially after they fucked up and killed a U.S. contractor in Kirkuk. Then they launched an attack on the U.S. embassy using many of the same Shia militias. Then the United States launched an airstrike against Soleimani, who was a revered war hero and major official within the Iranian government, which already now they have a big loss of a major asset. Then they launch a missile attack against the two U.S. bases, although fortunately they did kill either Iraqis or American troops. Then they accidentally destroyed a Ukrainian 737, and now they are feeling the denouncements and the pressure from both protests and the international community. Already, we're seeing just a major reverse, a major screw up for Iran. Already. In all honesty, I would say that public opinion across the world is more in the favor of the United States. I know that there are people who may not support the airstrike against Soleimani. I especially know that there are some people here in the United States that feel the same way. I'm kind of more into the overall. I get why that happened, and I get why people do not like it. I don't really know right now, but nonetheless, already we're seeing this major political change to the landscape, and I think that due to Iran's desperation, it may lead to potential results. It may lead to a potential change. I don't know what in any form or manner. I especially think that I'm not sure if the protests will be organized in some sort of way in which the Iranian government will eventually be forced to be overthrown and become a democratic state. I don't think that will be possible. Is there a chance that may happen? Small, but nonetheless, already we're seeing pressure against the Iranian government. If this pressure continues on, I don't know. I don't think that the Iranian government is going to last. At least not in this form. And I'm not even sure if it's going to be like a Democrat thing. But regardless, already, if they haven't felt the pressure before, the Iranian government is going to feel it even greater, especially as the days go by. My name is Nomi and the Art Truth. Please post your comments down below, like this video, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, if you have any issues regarding how I make my videos, such as how I frame them, how I speak, or if you have any ideas for me to improve, or just want to post anything that I should comment on a specific subject or event, please post them down in the comment section down below, or directly message me. Thank you.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains.